Are mission trips effective? I'm always kind of surprised when this question pops up. You know, as a missionary and a pastor of missionaries of Enrich Missions, I think they're incredibly effective. They're a big part of what we do. But I understand the question. I understand it. I understand that there's a lot of misinformation floating around. I understand that you can read a lot of really terrible stories. And I understand that there are instances where a mission trip is not the best idea. It could do more harm than good. Let's talk about some of the good things first. One of the first major positives of any mission trip is the humanitarian aid. You go somewhere and you help with food, you help with medical stuff, you help build something. And it's very normal right after a huge disaster or in a country that is super under-resourced. And I think those things are great. We certainly do quite a bit of that here. And people helping people is always going to be good. Another major strength of a mission trip is the cross-cultural exchange that happens when you go somewhere that's completely foreign to you. You meet a group of people that culturally are different from you in an atmosphere that is brand new. Suddenly, you have this mutual understanding, this appreciation that you may not have had before and may have never had an opportunity to develop that out, which is something that we really need to have as Christians. We're called to understand and love one another. And a lot of people just can't do it until they've been injected into this new experience. The third strength of a foreign mission trip is the personal growth that happens with the people who are doing the mission trip, with the people that have left normally the United States and gone to another country. For us, it would be Nicaragua. We've always said that a mission trip is like a greenhouse for your personal faith, for your theology, for your faith, for your hope walk. All of those things grow exponentially when you're on a mission trip, when you're on a good mission trip. I can't understate or overstate the value of a mission trip to help people grow spiritually. And I think the fourth major strength of a foreign mission trip is your opportunity to spread faith and hope. Here at Enrich Missions in Nicaragua, we have lots of opportunities for people to do that. But the most common, I think, is when we go to church. We go to church on Sunday, we do a church on Tuesday. And any team that brings a pastor or a leader or somebody with some sort of preaching abilities down, we ask the pastor if he would like to have them preach. And he always says yes, because he's always excited to hear the word, to hear somebody's faith in their own voice. And he's always excited for somebody to share their experiences with his congregation. It's always a really beautiful moment. So now let's talk about some of the bad things, some of the limitations of a short-term trip. Number one, and I think it's number one on everybody's mind, is that you're making a short-term impact in a place that has a long-term problem. And that's very valid. It's very valid. I think when you show up and there's not really a work that you're going to support, it can be very difficult to create a sustainable answer to a grand problem. Number two, I think, would be causing dependency in the community. So instead of the community working hard and working together to create solutions that are sustainable, you end up with this kind of great white hope mentality where everybody just sits around and waits for the missionaries to come and give them a bunch of stuff or pay for a bunch of stuff or build a bunch of stuff. And there's no sense of community growth or a community answer to the problem. Number three, I think one of the limitations of a mission trip is a lack of cultural understanding from the people that are coming down to work. So in our case, it would be people coming from the United States to work with Nicaraguans. Nicaragua's got a crazy history with the United States. Not only that, but culturally, Nicaraguans are different people than Americans, than people from the United States. We can be very bossy and forthright in everything we say. We're very direct in our words. In Nicaragua, that can be a very difficult thing for them to have to deal with. And what ends up happening is you end up bullying your way all week long, and things are happening the way you think they should be happening. But in reality, everybody's kind of talking about you behind your back about how terrible you are. That's because there's a cultural problem there that you're not really addressing. Fourth major limitation, I think, of a foreign mission trip is the price tag. It's got to be the price tag. Tickets cost money. Hotels cost money. Food costs money. And most trips are between 7 and 10 days. Here in Nicaragua, we do 7-day trips, Saturday to Saturday. But if you're flying across the ocean to go to Africa or Europe or Thailand, that's normally a 10-day trip just because of all of the investment. It's problematic. It's problematic. It excludes people who maybe aren't able to go. And the question is always, well, could the organization have just taken our money and done more with it than what we've spent to come down? I think that's a fair question. I think it's a fair question. And I think every organization and every team needs to look and evaluate that. I know here at Enrich Missions, we value people coming down. So for us, very rarely is it better for us to just take a bunch of money from the church instead of having people come down and work. When we have people come down, it promotes our ministry. And of course, we're a long-term sustainable work. So when people come down and work with us, it's a big deal. We see a huge increase in work and ministry the weeks that we have teams come down, far more than just paying extra money would do. So for us, we always prefer to have teams. But I know that not every organization is set up that way. And for some organizations, it's just better to donate the money to them and let them work. I think that's equally as fair. Okay, so what's a couple of ways that we can maximize the impact of a mission trip wherever you're going? If you're coming from the U.S. to Nicaragua to come visit us, or maybe you're going anywhere else to visit some other missions organization or do some other mission trip. Here are some ways to really get the value out of your dollar. Number one, prioritize sustainable solutions. It is important that you don't just go to another place, do a work, or start a work, and then leave it, and leave a burden on the community. I think that's probably, when you're talking about something that's unsustainable, you're talking about something that's a burden after you leave. Now that could be because there's not enough money involved in the country to keep it going. It could be that you brought the expertise down to start something and then you're taking the expertise back. There's a lot of different ways you can really mess up the sustainability of a project. So just make sure that whatever you're doing is easy to run after you leave, or better, I think, is if you partner, number two, partnering with a local organization. Local organizations have been there for a long time. They know what the culture is like. They know what sustainability looks like, and they know the needs of the community. I'm sure, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I'm sure that they know better than you do sitting at home in the United States trying to figure it out. Partnering with a local organization is always going to be a more sustainable way to do work. You can help them work on something that they've already started, making it better, promoting it. And as you leave, they're able to keep it running. Number three, cultural sensitivity training. We have a packet of stuff that we send out to people to be able to come down to Nicaragua to kind of explain some cultural differences. We also have a beginning Spanish course for people to take so they can come down with some knowledge of the language. And we have the benefit that Nicaragua is a Spanish-speaking country, and a lot of people already speak Spanish. So I understand that for us, cultural sensitivity, language learning, training, all of that kind of stuff is very simple. And I understand that in other parts of the world it's very difficult. But the work is worth it, even if it's difficult. Start creating some cultural and sensitivity training documents for wherever you're going so that your team can get caught up on what's happening. Number four, keep that support going. We at Enrich Missions anyway love to have churches that work with us year after year that are invested in what we're doing, that like to know that we're doing well, that we can visit when we're in the U.S., that we've created a relationship with. And I think that's the heart cry of every missionary that's working in the foreign missions, in foreign fields. They want churches, leaders in the church that love them, and the people in the mission field want to know that. They want to feel that. So, man, I got friends in the U.S. that send me a quick text. Hey, I'm just thinking about you. I got people that'll hit me up throughout the year. Hey, what kind of projects are going on right now? We just want to pay for it. We want to fund it. All of that kind of stuff is super meaningful, super meaningful. So continuous support is a huge thing. 5, advocacy and awareness. And we ask everybody who's ever come on a trip to help us with this because most people can't. We just want you to talk about us. We want to know that you enjoyed the trip, that you're passionate about what we're doing, that you feel like it's a worthy cause, and that you're going to share your experience with your friends, with your pastor, with your missions pastor, and try to help us get other people on board. I'm not asking you to recruit, I'm just asking you to share your story. And that's a huge deal for us. And we feel that. We feel that. Are mission trips effective? I think you need to be the judge. You need to kind of search your own heart and see what you think about it. There's good things and bad things. I think it's fair to say that. I think how you do it is probably the most important. Who you work with, equally as important. There's a lot of things to consider when you're planning a short-term mission trip. You want us to help you with it, we'd be happy to. I'd be happy to coach you. Even if you're not coming to Nicaragua, I would be happy to coach you through how to set up a short-term trip anywhere you're going. Thanks.